Did you get the invoice I forwarded? That was the first thing my daughter-in-law said when I finally reached her that October afternoon. Not hello. Just, did you get the invoice? I said I had. Good. Supplier needs payment by Friday. She hung up before I could ask the question I'd actually called about. When is the grand opening? My name is Gerald. I'm 63. I taught high school math for 31 years. My wife Patricia, a hospital administrator, passed 4 years ago. When our son Trevor came to me 2 years ago with a plan to open a physiotherapy clinic, Cedarbrook, I gave him $340,000 from everything Patricia and I had saved. I didn't ask for a board seat. I asked only to be kept informed, treated as his father, not an investor. 4 months, that worked. Sunday calls, photos, updates. Then his wife Ranita took over the finances. The calls got shorter. Then they stopped, replaced by the occasional forwarded invoice. That Friday, I drove out to the clinic, first visit in 3 months. I stood on the sidewalk and looked at it. Plants grown into their pots. A weathered sign. Rain streaks on the lettering. This place hadn't just opened. It had been open for a while. I called Trevor that night. Voicemail. Again the next morning. My own son was screening my calls. So I called Ranita instead. She answered on the first ring. When did the clinic open? A pause, just long enough. Soft opening was about 6 weeks ago. Quiet launch, just family. I wasn't invited. Trevor wanted to keep it low-key, she said. You know how he gets about pressure. I told her, calmly, that I'd put $340,000 into that clinic. She said Trevor would call that week. He didn't. So I did what a mathematics teacher does. I got organized. I pulled every email, every receipt, 2 years of records, and laid them across my dining table. Trevor had described my money in writing as an investment with family terms, informal, but with an understanding I'd be kept informed of major milestones. A grand opening was a milestone, then I noticed the invoices. A recurring monthly consulting fee paid to a numbered company. 11 months straight. I called my old friend Douglas, a retired corporate lawyer. He looked at the papers and asked one question. Do you know who owns that numbered company? I didn't. You should find out. I hired a bookkeeper named Carol. 2 weeks later she came back with the answer. The numbered company belonged to Paul, Renata's brother. No healthcare background. $2,800 a month for 11 months. $30,800 of my investment, gone to her family. I didn't confront anyone yet. Through a contact, I also got a look at the clinic's lease. The personal guarantee was signed by Trevor alone, not Ranita, not jointly. If the business failed, my son carried all the risk. I don't know if Ranita knew that when she was directing money to her brother. I called Trevor on a Sunday. He answered on the 5th ring, tired, like he'd been expecting this. I asked to come by Tuesday, with Ranita present. 2 hours in that back office. Ranita called Paul's fees legitimate support. Trevor said he hadn't known the full scope. He'd signed off on consulting without checking the details. I watched my son realize, with me as a witness, that his version of events and his wife's didn't match. I didn't raise my voice. I said only, I need this acknowledged formally. A written accounting, and a repayment plan for what went to Paul's company. Not because I need the money, Trevor. Because I need to know we are operating honestly. 2 weeks later, the accountant sent a full accounting, $34,200 in unapproved expenditures, with an 18-month repayment plan. I accepted, on one condition. Any expense over $5,000 from then on needed my written acknowledgement. Ranita agreed. She wasn't happy about it. She agreed anyway. What followed was slower, quieter than anything before it. Trevor and I resumed our Sunday calls, shorter, but more honest. He told me things he'd hidden out of embarrassment. That the first months had been harder than he admitted. That he and Ranita had been fighting about money long before I found out. I never got invited to that grand opening. I never stood at the door and shook hands with his colleagues the way a proud father should. I won't pretend that didn't matter. But that December, Trevor called and invited me to an early Christmas dinner. Just the 3 of us, take-out containers on a folding table in the clinic's back kitchen, string lights in the window. I sat there thinking about Patricia, about 31 years of teaching kids the logic of numbers, about what it really means to invest in someone. Money you hand over once and it's gone into the world. The harder investment is the one you make in a person, year after year, staying at the table even when the accounting gets difficult. Trevor looked at me across that folding table and said, "This wouldn't exist without you." He didn't mean only the money. The clinic's doing well now. Repayments arrive on the 1st of every month, no exceptions. This spring, Trevor called me before signing off on a new ultrasound machine, just to ask my acknowledgement. That phone call meant more to me than any grand opening ever could have. I'm not a man who needs to be celebrated. I need to be included. It took losing one to understand the other. If you've given your money, your time, your trust to someone you love, and you start feeling managed instead of respected, don't dismiss that feeling. Ask the question. Read the document. Request the accounting. If they're worth believing in, they'll sit across from you at that table, even when it's uncomfortable. That's what family means.